Welcome to Six Figure Trucker, the podcast where we share advice on how to be successful in trucking and have fun while doing so. We'll share stories, news, and advice on how to earn six figures in trucking, and we'll speak to guys and gals that are already doing so. Next, it's your host, Justin Scott. Let's get to the show.
All right, welcome to the Six Figure Trucker. I'm your host, Justin Scott. I've got Eric Ryan here with me today. Eric, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
Oh, man, I couldn't be better. Glad to have you on the show with me today. What have you got going on? Are you driving? Are you hanging tight for the holidays? What's going on in your world?
No, man, right now I'm actually in a rental car. I'm talking to you via Bluetooth, smart about it. But I'm headed up here to Champlain, New York to grab a load and go to Minnesota on the first drop. Second drop's going to hit me in Iowa.
Okay. So you're out there getting it right now. So weather good, weather bad. It's cold. I know it's got to be cold.
It's cold up here in New York for sure, and I bet you Minnesota ain't gonna be too easy on me either. But
it's not gonna be any better, is it?
You got to pay to play out here, though.
That's right. That's the truth, man. Well, again, I'm glad you joined me. I know you're doing work. Glad you got your Bluetooth headset on, playing it safe. But what's your story, man? So you've been with Norton how long now? How long you been with us?
Almost 3 years, man.
3 years. Well, thank you, man. Thank you for the commitment. And what led you to us? What led you to Driveaway? How'd you get started?
Well, I guess it was to start with, I'm like what you call a third or fourth generation trucker. On my dad's side, his dad and mom, they drove for years. I mean, years. They bought trucks, sold trucks, and drove for companies, and both my, grandfather, sir, that's what you call him, and my grandma, they drove,
Yeah,
and you'd always hear stories of them. And then
were they freight?
They pulled van, reefer, a little bit of that,
Okay.
But he was a man of integrity, and he still is. He's still alive. The grandmother, she's passed away. She was too, but he was wild back in his older days, but the truck kind of lined him out. If that makes any sense.
Sure.
And he just, he's a good man, and he just drove hard and did the owner-op thing, and then found him a good company. I think that's who he stuck with, and he just recently retired. He's getting up there in age, and he just recently retired. So.
Oh wow! So he went at it for a long time.
Yeah, long time.
Well, that's awesome, man. I love to hear stories about generational type stuff, and especially when you got a deep history. It's certainly it's a profession that when it's in your blood, it's in your blood. And here I am, and here you are, and I think that's how it goes. So did you have any other family that was connected in trucking?
Yes, sir, I did. My mom, she drove reefer and dry van back in the day, and then my dad, he drove concrete mixer there before he went and got him a degree. And then on my mom's side, her brother, he ran a pretty big concrete company over there as a sales manager, and then my cousin drove a mixer. So I got half of my family to say they drove something.
Yeah.
So that was just kind of the deal. But I didn't actually pick up on it till late, to be honest with you. Until my late 20s, and I got to give all my respect, and where it really comes from would be a guy. His name is Daniel Sutton. He's like a big brother to me. When I was 15, my real brother passed away, and
oh man,
no, it's all right, man. Things happen. That's the way of life. We all gotta die someday. It's just how you cut it, if you're ready to go or not.
Right.
But he swooped me up and said, "Well, I'm gonna be your big brother now," and I'll be damned if he was. He runs him an outfit over there. He got him about 20 trucks, and he's all heavy hauling. And hey, I would go with him on trips, and we'd go everywhere. And he got them big, long, low boys, oversized loads, and I just got that itch, And like I say, the families, always did it. So it's kind of, it wasn't like I never heard of trucking, or it wasn't going to be part of their life, I'm just lucky enough. He said, "Hey, look here, you need to get your crap in gear, and I'm going to help you get your license." And he did, man. He came out of pocket the cash money to get my license, and I took his brother's truck down there to take a test. And I remember we was waiting to take the test, and his brother said, "If you can pass this thing in this 4-axle truck, you can drive." And I did. I was in a 4-axle truck taking my driving test, and I passed. So, I went from there, and then I kind of That first year was rough for me, man. That first and second year was kind of rough for me. You know, I was green as all hell out, even though I had all the experience and background. You know, it was like, you know, I think it's like with anybody, you know, you hit your little stop sign there. Like I say, you know, I jumped out there, bought my own truck, got me a trailer, got my authority, got my LLC, and had my mom, you know, who drove back in the day, running my back office. And I just really thought, you know, I can't lose here with my hard work drive. And, you know, I just can't lose here. And I bought me a $40,000 old truck, an old Volvo that seemed like it was well kept. And for the first 6 months, man, I did good. I was out here.
You went in. Yeah, you went in, man.
Yeah, the first 6 months, man, I was really kicking ass. And I was like, all right. Well, like I say, I didn't have it all figured out. And I came in at the time when the market was just slamming. So, you know, I was in there. And then something happened, man, about 6 months in. It just, you know, I had about a month or two, you know, I was ahead on my truck payment, on my insurance. Everything just seemed to be going right. And then I started catching my first couple breakdowns. And it just slowly just started just draining me, man. I went from, you know, going home, you know, and at the time I was calling myself a true OTR guy. You know, I was staying out 4 to 6 weeks at a time. And when I go home, it was literally 2 days and back at it. I just didn't, you know, I was trying to be like the old ant, you know, I was trying to store up for the winter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I was doing my best, but I just couldn't prevent what was about to happen. You know, sometimes in life you can do all you can do, but it'll lead you to the promised land in a sense, you know, and I didn't have enough quarterback vision to really realize it doesn't matter how many times I fumble or drop the ball or be prepared. You know, I'm leading and I'm going to do something else. And I just didn't know it, but it was still going to be in trucking. It just wasn't going to be running on my own authority. And I stayed in communication with a good friend of mine, Eric Howard. You know, we kind of lost bases there for a few years. You know, you get older, you kind of part ways. And
Oh yeah.
I'll be damned. He told me he was truck driving, and that's one thing I didn't think he would ever do. I just didn't think, you know, you could have probably seen me going down that line just because of the family. And like I said, my mentor, you know, I was always around trucking there, you know, and you just kind of would have said, oh, I could see that with him, but I just didn't see with Eric. And then, man, you know, he came over the house one day and he seen my truck and he thought I had it going on. He thought I was a cat's meow, you know, and then I broke it down to him. I was like, dude, I'm not doing worth a damn.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I just got my numbers back. I ran 146,000. That's what I grossed that year, but I netted 30,000.
Wow, it's crazy to think about those expenses. That's.
And I just couldn't believe it. I was broken. I got a CPA that's a trucking CPA, a good guy, you know, and
doing everything they can.
Yeah, man. And I said, this don't seem right.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, you alone had almost a $60,000 fuel bill.
Gee.
I thought, holy crap, because I like to stay in that left lane, you know. And I was like, all right. And you know, I didn't have enough money to go buy that 379 and that W9 that I've always wanted. So I bought a Volvo, and I had a clean ass looking Volvo. I ain't gonna lie to you. I put a chrome on it, stacks on it. I made it look different than most Volvos out here, but it was never gonna be what I really wanted. It was just a money pit is all it was, you know?
Yeah.
And he told me, he said, man, you need to get over here in this piggyback lane. And I'd always drive that road and I'd see them old trucks going on the road. And I always thought to myself, man, that'd probably be a son of a gun to back them things up. That's all I would ever think. You know, I never thought they was really making the money, or, you know, I didn't know how they, you know, because I always thought trucking was, you know, you get your truck and drive for a good company, hope you find a good company, and then you work up to owner op, and that's kind of the life goals of trucking, you know?
Yeah.
That's just kind of what I always thought. Everybody was always saying, go get your truck, and then you can dictate your own, be your own boss. And man, I think a lot of stuff in life is like, you got to see it how it truly is. Don't get me wrong. That's a good hand to have. If you got contracted freight, or you know your spot market really good, and you got a well-maintenance vehicle, and you saved enough money, you know, but I just wasn't wise enough. And he poured it on me about Norton, and he always talked Norton up, talked Michael up, talked you up, like y'all was everything. And I thought, well, you know, man ain't never lied to me yet. Let me try it out. And he said, well, I'm going to be able to train you too. And I thought, well, at the time I've been trucking 5 years, and I thought,
you don't need any training.
like, this old boy, I said, we turn on a wrench, back in the day, we worked on cars, and I was always the guy showing him, what an alternator was, a starter, how to drive, and
you think he's not training me.
Yeah, but he sure the hell did. And we got out there, where your strengths and your weaknesses are, he made up for his weaknesses. I mean, with his strength, was because over here in this lane over here, you got to know how to book flights. You know how to go rentals. It's just a different dog out here,
And it's kind of a secret, you go back and talk about the trucking industry as a whole. And, you had somebody in Driveaway, and, from my experience being just, in the business and at trucking shows, not everybody knows about what we do. And that's
right.
That's been my general consensus is it's almost like trucking's best kept secret.
Man, it truly is. And it's the cash cow. But with all that comes, brother, the men and women that are out here on piggyback, I'm telling you right now, are hard-working son of a guns. Because I can speak from experience. The only thing that comes close to this type of labor is them oversized guys.
Absolutely.
That are booming, strapping, load. I mean, yeah, the flatbedders, they got to get out there and bust chains, throw tarps, but nah, the only thing that comes close is them oversized guys, because they really got to get out there and hump it, and they got all that heavy load or tall load, so they get it. But over here, man, it's run hard, be safe, and then when you get to that location, you're out in the weather. Like right now, it's 23 degrees, snow on the ground, and if I had the load that I had, if it's coming here, I know I'm out there for 4 to 5 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is. I'm out there till the job's done. Let's just put it that way. Rain, sleet, or snow, I'm in it.
Yeah, but, and you're up against time. You're up against being able to get the job done. I mean, I know a lot of you guys run into places and you got to sit because there's another guy taking up the some of these small dealerships or some of these manufacturers. They don't have a lot of room for you guys to work in. So not only not only are you dealing with you go ahead. Not only are you dealing with the weather, but you're dealing with so many other variables.
Right. And, like us, we're non-union. And so I call us and a couple of our smaller competitors, we're the go-getters. We're not getting paid all day. We make our big bulk money in the driving aspect, and we're blessed over here in Norton. We get paid on deck, but that's not the bulk of your money. So your mind frame is to bust ass and get it. And you pull up to a location and it's 1 o'clock and they cut them off at 4 or 5, and you got this slow guy in front of you. If you're smart and got a brain on you, you're going to get out there and help bust ass and help put his axles in. That's what I do. And
I love to hear that. I love to hear that.
I tell you, I learned that from my buddy Eric, because, like I say, he trained me, and we would go places, and if the gate was open and the light was on, we was undecking. And if it was 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, we was undecking. And then we'd go hit the hotel, turn our paperwork in, or turn the burn the next morning. But some of these places, they just got, and that's their right. They got rules, and you got to play by them. So if you get behind a slow poke and it's off at 4, and you don't want to be sit there, you better get your butt out and help him bust down, no matter if he's union, non-union, or your competitor. And I did that multiple times, and not one guy has ever said, hey, leave me alone, let me do it by myself.
Yeah, because they know, I think it's one of those things, too. It's like, hey, this is great, and, I don't want to burn any bridges out there. You never know when you're going to be working right alongside that guy. It's a tight-knit community, right. And, we could all, don't burn any bridges, and they know that they're probably going to return that favor, and that hopefully if you're in a situation where you need help and they're there, then they'll return that favor.
And there ain't nothing that a better feeling is pulling up, and because it's like this. I don't know if it's like this for every driver, but I can speak for myself. If I pull up to a location and I see that placard, or if I know he is, because right now I got a pretty good feel, but Norton, we're growing like wildfire. So I don't know all the drivers, but I got my hands full. I know a good majority of them, so it's like, but even if I don't know you and you tell me you're Norton Transportation, I'm helping you off the rip. And hey, you ain't got to ask no questions. And I can think of probably 10 or 20 drivers I've helped that's Norton, and they all help me back.
Oh, that's
now, I
great.
can't say that about everybody else. And it don't bother me, because I'm doing it so I can get under that horse, because
You got to get to your next load. You got to go.
Yeah, and if they see you under that hoist or see you putting the axles in, most of the time they'll sign that paperwork. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if they leave at 5, service manager or somebody will write that paperwork and they'll get you on because they know you're a go-getter, and that's the good thing about it.
So the first time that when you started out training and doing piggybacking and the decking thing, when you, I guess, pulled up to the first drop or the first location that you were going to undeck at, what was your initial thoughts going into it and the experience?
Man, man. If Eric Howard listens to this, he's going to laugh. I thought I made the worst mistake. Listen, I tell you what, I thought I made the worst mistake because at the time I still had my truck and trailer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was down and out, but I wanted to have kind of that plan B. You know what I mean? So, because I didn't know what I was getting off into. Boy, I'm telling you, it was about this time right now. I know it was in December. We hit Minnesota. Oh, my word. We had these Freightliners. There was 3-4 foot of snow everywhere, manual hoist. And mind you, I didn't know what a manual hoist was. Now, I know what it was because I pulled motors and stuff before. But I didn't know when he told me, we was talking on the phone. And
you're about to pick up a truck.
Yeah, he said, look, he's like, I remember Eric saying, hey, if it's a manual hoist, we going to be here for a while. But electric hoist, he's like, we should be in and out in 5-6 hours. I said, man, we got 8 trucks. He said, we going to bust ass. He said, you get my side, I get your side. We had this chemistry when we would just bust his 4 out and bust my 4. He'd work the left side, I'd work the right side, and it just, it was just butter,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you what, that first one we hit, I was unprepared. I didn't have enough winter clothes. I'm from Oklahoma, so
I know what you mean.
Wasn't prepared, and it was cold. Man, I was not prepared, and I was cold, wet. It started sleeting on us, and then it started getting dark on us, and it wasn't one problem after another. And then when I thought we was about done, I said, well, what do we got to do now? He said, we got to run that manual hoist. I said, God almighty. I said, so what have we been doing? He said, well, you got axles and lines. He's like, bro, that's the easiest thing. And I thought, he's like, you got to think of it this way. There's levels to this shit. He's like, that's the first step, second step, third step. By your 4th step, all you got to do is clean up. I said, so we're only at the first step? He said, we're working on the second one. Let's go. And he's over there whistling, and he's like, man, it's good, ain't it? And I said, nah, this ain't worth a damn. And I said, I'm going to be honest with you, bro. If I was half a man I said, I would have quit and went home. He said, it ain't that bad. I said, bro, it's 13 degrees out here, raining and sleeting on us right now, and I'm in snow, and I'm freezing the cold. And I said, then the hotel is 30 miles away. And you know what he says? We ain't going to no hotel right now, not till we're done. And I thought, man, it was 1 o'clock when we got done.
Wow.
You hear me?
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about and tired, then, right? That's a new level.
Hey, and then he's coming beating on my motel door at 7 o'clock talking about, hey, we ain't going to do no driving, but we got to go over there as soon as they open up and get our paperwork lined out. I thought, oh, here we go. He said, you want to make money, right? We got to get it. But that type of training, I'm forever grateful.
Absolutely.
I'm forever grateful because I was already a go-getter anyway, but I was in a different type of transition. Like I said before, brother, I didn't really realize how serious it was on time management. You can come over here in the decking world and you can make, honest to God, you can make 1,000 in 7 days. Or 9 days, you can make 3,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
It's how you cut it. You know what I mean? If you want to slack off and sleep in every morning until 10 o'clock and whatever, and not get your paperwork done, and that's also a big part of it. It's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of make sure people are signing in the correct position. I don't know how many times I went to location and didn't pay attention to where they're signing in it or whatever, and then turn in my paperwork and it not be right. So. But it's all a process, man, and I think this is the best. I think this is the best lane out there, hands down.
Yeah, and you're so right. It is a process, and it's so to see the intricate levels of the satisfaction of the customer and getting the trucks put back together after you've undecked and getting everything signed where it's got to be signed. And, it's not just driving, there's a lot more to it than that. And that's what's cool to let people know of. And, you see folks talk about, oh, this truck's stacked, piggybacked, and you think those guys are the drivers. Well, they're not just drivers. A lot of times, they're doing more manual labor than I've even had, talked to mechanics about, undecking and things of that nature. And sometimes these mechanics just have no idea what all goes into it. And they're the ones that are working on the trucks a lot of the times.
Right. Like when you break down that lead truck and you got to call one, and that's another blessing about this job over here. Let's go back here a little bit. I told you I made $147,000, but I really netted $30,000. A lot of that was because of breakdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah. Breakdowns, towing, all that.
And that was when you were owner operator, right?
Yeah. The coolest thing about over here, the times I do break down, I call warranty.
Yeah.
And then when I have to call warranty, I'm getting paid while I'm sitting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I got my bottle of water with me, my peanuts, and I'm sitting out the truck and waiting, and everybody going by me. And the coolest thing, I don't know if they're looking at me because I got the coolest W9s on or the coolest 379s on, or if I'm just broke down. I don't know I know they're looking at me because I got cool rides on me,
That's true.
But the whole time I'm really waiting on the wrecker. And then I go to the wrecker and I'm still getting paid. And then I go to a hotel. Norton's paying for my hotel for a breakdown.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't go wrong. I mean, let's talk about this right now. What literally just happened.
Yeah.
I'm busting my ass right now. You got Christmas coming up or whatever, these holidays. So you want to store up for these holidays, right?
It's time.
And I got done Monday with my load, and my Danielle, my dispatcher, I really like her. I've had her for about 2 years.
She's great, isn't she?
Yeah. And, I call her sister when I speak to her like a little sister, and I don't think she takes offense to that. I just, sometimes you just get along with people really well.
Absolutely.
Right?
Hey, this is a relationship business on either side,
I feel like she just got me figured out, but she called me right as I got done and said, hey, look, I need a favor. In most companies, when they call for a favor, you dread that, right? You're like, dang it. You know what I mean?
I know. So
but not me.
What now?
Not me. Yeah. My dispatcher call, this is how it goes. Hey, I need a favor. Okay, what's that? Exact words of her mouth was, hey, I need these little 3-ways run from Chillicothe, over to New York. And I said, okay. She said, but we'll pay for the rental, and it's a $200 incentive. I said, and this is what I said to her, and ask her when we get off this message here.
Oh, yeah.
I said, so you mean to tell me you're calling me for a favor and you want me just to do my job and you're going to pay me more to do my job? She said, well, yeah, kind of. And I'm here to tell you, I ran 567 miles and I'm getting almost $700 to me.
That's great.
And let's be honest, I got it done in 32 hours, less than 32 hours.
That's not bad. That's not a bad hourly rate right there.
No, it's really not. And really, it was quicker than that. I'd shave off a few hours, but anyway, I'm just thankful to be in this opportunity. I don't have to run as hard as I initially did 3 years ago. It was kind of, I was number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5 3 years ago, but now, Norton's got some hitters over there. We got some hard hitters, and for you to be in the top 10 or Norton or top 20. You got to really be humping it,
Yeah, we got some guys that and you're always up there now. I see you all the time, so I see your name up there. Don't be out like you're not one of them. But we got a lot of great guys now. We've put a name out for ourselves, so we got some of the best. And
it feels good. It feels good. Like you run into a guy like Logan or his name is Deck Demon on there. You run into him out here. And it's like, it just feels good to run into other hard-hitting guys.
Well, that guy's a beast, ain't he?
Oh, yeah. And mind you, we're going home, like me now. And, I go home. I don't stay gone 4 to 6 weeks at a time. I'm blessed that the Denton yard is 200 miles from me. Vaughn Army's 568 miles, and 90% of my loads are going north from Denton or north from Vaughn Army, and I can go by the house for 2 days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And continue with my load. Now, mind you, I'm communicating with my dispatcher. I'm letting her know I'm not, my percentage is up there really high on my pickup and delivery times because I want Norton to look good and I want to be good. So when those favors do come across the board, they can recommend me for that.
Absolutely.
So,
but you made a good point. I mean, you can go, in this business as hard as you want. You can stay out on the road. You can take it at your own pace. We've got some guys that are, they consider themselves retired, but they'll take a load here and go home and, another next week, take another one maybe the next week. And, they're just kind of going at their own pace. They're not at the level that they were where they could stay out on the road, 6 weeks at a time. And, that's what's cool about it too, is it's appealing to all ages. I've got young guys coming into it. I've got older guys that still enjoy it.
Right. And really it's the best thing going. Me, I'm a big boy, but it's like one thing I love about this job is you're going to stay active. You're going to stay active, and it's a sense of pride, and I call it your physical therapy because you're going to get out there and you're going to sweat from your brow and you're going to earn it. You know what I mean?
You're going to work. You're not going to have what do they call the soft hand type mentality.
No,
I mean, you're going to be pulling on some chains. You're going to be turning some wrenches. You're going to be, you're going to be working. You're going to be working.
Right. And damn sure on that used side, boy, I went down there and got me some of that with Dave, our yard guy down there. I ran and got me some of them used saddles and tried that out. You really want to bring that man out of you. Go run that used side because I'm here to tell you, you got to put tires on, off.
Yeah.
That's where it's at. If you want to be Mr. Top Dog, you go get that. And that's really where them guys on that load board, on our leaderboard. And that's the one thing I like about Norton. It kind of got a little competition there. You can always see.
You can look.
So the top 20, and who your competitors are. It's all a good rivalry, but it, and it generally stays the same. The names that are there are the names that are the producers, but them guys that are in the top 5, those are the guys who are on that used side and that new side.
Yeah, they do a little bit of both. But we love that, I think, and that's kind of a part of who we are. Like all of us, myself included, we're all competitors, and friendly competition, I think, can sometimes spark a little bit more from within, and I always like to include that in the things that we do, not only just with drivers, but in the office with our dispatch team, with our recruiting team, just to put something in there to, maybe put a little bit more fire in the belly, because sometimes a friendly competition brings a little bit more out of you than not having it there. So I love it. I think it's fun. I think it brings out the best, and a lot of us here had played sports at some point or did something and sales or whatever it may be. So it's always fun. So I always like talking to the drivers about that because, everybody notices it. Like you're saying, people look at it. It's, we put it out there and everybody's, constantly checking like, hey, I want to get up there with some of those guys,
Right. Like it's kind of a sense of pride for me, if I'm not in the top 10 or top 15, I know I'm slacking,
Right.
So it's like, I'm speaking for me because you made it very clear. Everybody's different. You know what I mean? And it's just, and then it'll reflect your money too. You want to make your big money. Well, you need to run, but I guarantee you, even if you're in the top 50, you're going to clear over 100,000. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And the guys that are up there, we've got, let's see, we do our quarterly bonus program. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 5 guys that are already hitting that Norton Plus status. So all next quarter in 2021, they're going to earn additional cents on each mile just by hitting those statuses. So that's another thing to look for too.
And one thing I can say I thoroughly enjoy about this company, and that's no lie, is you guys aren't greedy. And you really. You say it is what it is type of deal. We're going to give you this. I don't want to say what we really get $1 a mile, but I can tell you right now, it's better than any competitor out there by far. And what you put on our rate for us to get, we get that. And then you're always throwing incentives. Like even on these singles, let's speak about that. A guy coming over Norton on the single side, he'll make a living, but he ain't going to make a strong living. The money's on the deck side. But now y'all invented a little thing there right after COVID about the bidding thing.
Yeah.
The bidding for, I think that was genius.
Yeah.
I mean, because, you know, and I'll speak on this, you know, I kind of got an idea of what the rates go for because, you know, running my own business and dictate my own lane and all that. So I'll throw a bid out there, and honest to God, I've only been denied once. And then what I was denied, they countered,
right,
you know, for like $20 cheaper. And I thought, well, I still can't lose on that.
Well,
so,
I love the bid. You know, you're right. I mean, most of the time, if somebody places a bid, if we can't do it, we're going to counter to something better. And you know, we implemented that as a way. And you know, COVID has been such a crazy year for everybody. And you know, I'm so thankful of where we are. But you know, we did tried a lot of new things, and then honestly, a lot of this stuff, you know, we're going to come out. It was a blessing because we learned to do things a little differently than probably what we were, and it's made things work better in a weird way. Everything happens for a reason. So, yeah, we got guys that say, hey, you know, you got loads on their bid. What will it take? You guys are contractors, so give us an offer. We'll maybe go with it, maybe we won't, but what's the worst we can say, right?
And you know, true. And that's another thing we probably need to briefly speak on. You know, we're not employees. We're independent contractors. So I truly see this as a partnership, you know. And,
it's gotta be, right?
You know, and I feel like it's on the other end because, you know, I've never had a load, you know, I've canceled one load in the 3 times I've been here, you know, and there wasn't no hard feelings on it. It was just, I just wasn't able to do that load, you know, and I've never been, hey, you got to take this, you know. It's always, hey, can you take this, or are you available, you know, and you just got to be honest about it. And Danielle's never said, well, I can't believe you can't take that. You know, you're going to lose your job, or we're going to, you know, it's never, it's like, okay, don't worry about it. And I said, are you sure? She goes, hey, look, it's okay. Don't worry about it. You know, and it's like, oh, okay. So if a guy was to ever lose this position and have to go work back for somebody running that old E-log and doing all that crap and, you know, and being forced dispatch, I just think you would really realize you screwed up, you know?
Yeah, and I think once you realize the flexibility there, you know, a lot of folks from other industries that have been affected by COVID have come on, and of course it's benefited Driveaway. They're like, wow, this is crazy. I go pick what I want and do what I want, and we're like, yeah, what do you want to do? And you know, of course, like you said, we call for favors and we call, hey, can you do this? But we're asking, and you know, we'd be crazy. You know, we wouldn't be doing our jobs if we didn't try to get the loads covered for the customer. And I think that's the thing. You know, both. You know, you guys and us, you know, we're all working to deliver trucks where they need to go. And, you know, that's just what we come in and try to do every day. And our customers are, you know, saying, hey, we trust you. We trust your drivers with these, you know, large amount of money assets. And, you know, that's a big responsibility. So we try to take pride in it in every step. And the only way that I think we can be successful is to take care of our drivers and take care of folks like you that are in that 13-degree weather with, you know, sleet and rain and snow and, you know, shit, that's a tough place to be in. So if you don't like your job, you're not going to do that.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. It all boils down to, you got to enjoy what you do for a living. And I enjoy being a truck driver. I truly feel I'll probably be one of those guys that'll always be involved in trucking in some aspect. Most likely to be driving, but who knows, you know, whatever else it is, I will take that door and run with it. But it'll be trucking related because I enjoy the whole aspect of trucking, you know? Yeah,
and you made a good point, and I want to go back to that. You know, when you were talking about a breakdown and you were talking about sitting on the side of the road and people looking at, you know, the new trucks, you know, the Pete's, you know, the Kenworths, whatever they may be that you're in. And, you know, even to this day, and I've been to our yards and I've been around it for a long time, seeing a massive 4-way of these new trucks, it's a sight to see. No matter what.
It truly is. It truly is.
And I know, you know, wherever you're going, I bet you see it. People are turning their heads when you pass them.
Right. And I think, you know, I want to speak on this. I feel like the arm pump has went away for little kids.
I know, right?
Tell you
what happened to that?
But I'll tell you what, I get a lot of them on that 4-way. And because them kids will just be at awe. And it ain't just the kids, it'd be the mom or the dad, you know. And, you know, I get more favoritism coming around another truck on a 4-way or a car, and you know, because they see I'm long, I'm like a snake. You know, you're over 100 foot long most of the time.
Yeah.
Them 379, 389s, and them W9s. You know, you're over 100 feet long, so they give into you. You know, and if the thing's got a CB on it they'll yak to you. Oh, where's that going, man? What kind of truck is that? You just give them the spiel. You know, it's, you know, you tell them what it is. You know, and when you hit a truck stop, for one, you're getting fuel, because a lot of these trucks you got to put fuel in, not only your lead truck, but your second, third, and fourth truck. I mean, you're not filling those trucks up, but you're putting 5 gallons in them, just because when you get to the shipper, you know, you want the thing to run, you know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, them guys, you know, I've never had a guy saying, hey, you're holding up the line. Plus, it's kind of one of those deals, you know, you're only spending 20, 30 minutes tops, you know, you're not trying to spend all day, but it takes a process of pulling up, putting 5 gallons on, pulling up, putting 5 gallons. But, you know, while you're doing that, you know, I can't tell you how many times I've had drivers, hey, man, you make any money doing that? And I tell them all, hey, I make more money doing this than I ever have my whole life. And they'll all be like, yeah, well, they'll say, what kind of money you made? And I'll say, well, 3 years ago, I made $160,000. Second year, I made $150,000. And this year with COVID, I'm probably going to make over $120,000, $130,000, $140,000. What?
Yeah.
And they're like, do you own these trucks? No, man. These are going to, and I'll tell them, these Peterbilts are going to, you know, wherever they're going. These Kenworths, these Freightliners, and you know, I'll have some sexy ones too, man. I ain't going to lie. I'll have some that the customers ordered with, you know, 2-tone paint jobs on them, you know, and they're stretched out 300 wheelbase. So they look real cool. You know what I mean?
I love seeing those.
Oh yeah. And, you know, of course we get our rider trucks, and we get all the box trucks. We get the day cabs. We get them all. That's a blessing about what we do. You know,
garbage trucks sometimes, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Speaking of that, that's the one that I rejected up there in Norway, Michigan. I just couldn't do it, man. But that's the only one I ever turned down. But it's just cool, man. It's cool running for them, and it's like, how in the world will I ever go back? You know, if a guy was to offer me a job and I lost this great position, and he'd say something like, well, man, I got these brand new trucks, you know, if that was one thing for them to entice me with, it'd be really hard to entice a guy like me, because I know I'm not going to get what I pay per mile right now. There ain't nobody going to touch me on that.
Right.
And for two, they're not going to be able to put me nothing nicer or newer than I've ever drove. Because I've drove the nicest that Peterbilt offers, the nicest at Kenworth, Freightliner, you know, and Volvo, and not so much of the internationals, but, you know, they're all kind of the same anyway, you know. But I don't know, man. It'd be hard for a guy to leave this and leave this lane. This is by far the best paying lane out there. You know?
And you get, like you said, you get the new trucks, got the plastic on the seats still, you know. That's something to say, you know, when you're driving these new trucks all the time. But so what's life like now on the road? So you've got making good money, you're delivering deck sets. How does that bode with your personal life? Do you kind of go home more now than you used to, but you're still making good money, right?
Well, yeah, that's a good question, sir. So here's the deal on that. You know, I don't run as hard. Here's the thing. I don't run as hard as I used to, you know, because now it's like, I know it's only been 3 years in the decking world, but I go to a lot of the same customers sometimes, and I know how to look on that low board to dictate where I'm going to go. And I don't, you know, I pretty much got it figured out on a 4-way, 3-way, or 2-way of how long it's going to take me, give or take 30 minutes here and there, but I've got it kind of figured out. So it's like, I don't need to run. I don't need to run, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 loads a month. And to a lot of people, that might not seem like a lot, but I just need to run about 3 or 4 loads a month, because I'm thankful that the money that I've made the previous years, I bought a house, bought a wife car, got my truck paid. I've just got everything in line where I don't have to run as hard, but I still have a sense of pride in me that go get inside that. I want to stay in the top 15, top 20, and get around that top 10 just so I can. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And, but it's like this, man. When we need money, and all I got to do is tell my wife and my 5-year-old son, well, I'll be gone for about 2-3 weeks. And for a guy over here, if you're in the hole and you need to make some money, well, just go bust your ass for about 2 weeks. And if you're not ahead, there's something wrong. It ain't because you ain't making the money. It's because you ain't spending the money where it needs to go. You don't have your priorities in check.
Yeah, and
you know what I mean?
That's a good point, though. If something happens, like you got your own pace now, and it works for you, it works for your family, but hell, if something happened, life always throws us a curveball. Okay,
Always.
well, I got the
Always.
option to run my ass off, and you can make more. You're not necessarily living on a set amount. All the time. You can choose to make more if you wanted to, and that's probably a pretty good feeling.
Right. No, it's a great feeling. Like, I'm a big boy, like I said before, and I consider myself to be healthy. But the first time I ever got kind of sick was a couple months ago. I got this diverticulitis for some weird reason, and I was down for like 7 days out there in Michigan.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, you were up north. I remember we texted,
right.
And I don't remember about what, but you said, "Oh man, I'm out." I'm like, "Oh man, what in the world?"
Right. Yeah, and I just tried to play it off like it was nothing, like it wasn't nothing serious, but it was pretty. I waited too long, so it was getting pretty damn serious. But I ended up being off work. I ended up finishing the load. I powered through, and I went home, and I was off work for 3 weeks. But I already had enough money stored up, but right when it was getting close, I went out there and hammered it for 2 weeks, and you wouldn't even know I took off 3 weeks. Like right now, sir, I'm gonna run to the 20th, and I'm probably here going to take off 5-6 weeks.
Yeah.
Why? Because I can.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And there ain't no better feeling than that, than just knowing you can. Now, let's be honest. If I'm only able to stay off 2 to 3 weeks, because I just get I love my home life. I love my son, love my wife dearly, and I love leading my household. But this road, when it calls you, when you on that, and we got a new app now with Norton, so it'll let you know when there's good loads down there. And man, it's sometimes it's hard to pass up. You see them.
That was by design.
Yeah. When you see them suckers going from Vaughn Army to Maryland, and ain't nobody bid on it. It takes everything you can not to take that sucker.
Yeah,
So
you're like, well, I could go out for a few days.
Yeah, it's like I'm telling you, I'm be off 5-6 weeks, but let's just be honest. I got maybe 2-3 weeks in me at the most.
Happens all the time.
Yeah, man, and I'm going, because that's what it is. I think the wife's like, okay, you need to go, and my son, he don't want me to go, but he understands, and I'm thankful enough in the housing addition that I live in. There's a big old lot towards my house, and he always knows when Daddy's coming home, because he'll see them trucks over there.
Oh, that's great.
And I got all the little kids in the neighborhood and the dads. I don't tell you how many times I've seen dads out there taking pictures of the load.
Checking those trucks out.
First, I'm thinking, are they calling HOA on me or what? But no, it ain't that. I had a guy, man, that's a good-looking Kenworth. What is that? I thought, well, that's a W900. He said, how are you going to get out of here? I said, well, record me when I leave here Monday morning about 7. Well, I ain't going to be up at 7. I said, well, just know I can make that turn, all right? And it's just nothing but a better feeling to have a sense of pride. I know we go back to that again, but I recommend this, to anybody. I tell anybody, hey, go get your year of experience, do all your little uh-ohs, what I call them, and get that out of the way. And then, man, go hit up Norton Transportation and apply for the position, get you some training, and come over and make the big bucks. And I tell you what, if you can't retire here in 10, 20 years, there's something wrong with you. You know what I mean?
Man, we love that. And the sky's the limit here. We want, we want to keep growing and keep grabbing those drivers and keep doing what we do. And it's been wonderful. And I think everybody's enjoying it from who I talk to. So, all right. Yeah. This is great. I got to ask you one more thing because I don't want to keep you. I know you're in a rental, you're between loads, but I got to ask you one thing. I'm a foodie. I like eating I like going to places. I like eating when I travel. What do you like to eat on the road, or where's somewhere that you can't wait to get back to, or what's some of your favorite places you visited food wise?
Man, I love Mexican food.
Me too.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, I got the best spot for you, Justin. Right now.
Oh, let me hear it. Let me hear it.
It's in Tyler, Texas. It's called the Panerosa.
The Panerosa, Tyler, Texas.
Yeah, in Tyler, Texas. Man, I'm a fajita guy, right? I like my steak and chicken.
Oh, yeah.
And they will bring you the steak and the chicken. And the way they do it, and they make special sauce. Oh, man, you eat that and have you about 2 Modelo's, you're in the game, man.
I'm in.
Yes.
All right.
It's the best place. It's the best place, I'm telling you. And I that's the best, food spot every time I'm going east. That's another good thing is, like, if I ain't going home, if I ain't going north and I'm going to draw east, because we don't too often go west. You know, for some reason, I don't go really west of like Colorado with a deck load. Now, I'll grab something, you know, every once in a while out of Cali and come back east, but you don't really go west for some reason. So, but when I draw east, man, I'm hitting Tyler, Texas every time.
Well,
and they got plenty of trucking parking, and they're trucker friendly there, and they just treat you like you're down home, you know?
Well, I can't wait to go, and I love going to places like that because, you know, I like to talk. I like to meet folks that are in the industry, what they do. I obviously love to talk about what I do. You know, I could talk about it for forever. Well, Eric, man, this has been great. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but man, the stories, it's great. I can't wait to have you back on. We're gonna have to do this again if you're in.
Oh, I'm in for round 2, man. I surely am, man. And I really want to thank you for letting me do this. And man, you have a wonderful day.
Hey, Eric, you too, man. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon. You be safe on the road. Enjoy New York. Enjoy Minnesota, and try to stay safe and warm.
Six Figure Trucker is brought to you by Norton Transport. Norton Transport is a drive-away trucking company that customers can rely on. It offers excellent independent contract driving opportunities to professional, courteous, and qualified drivers that can provide the kind of service we deliver. If you're interested in learning more about Norton or just want to subscribe to the show, check out 6-figuretrucker.com. That's 6-figuretrucker.com.